Hello. Local elections. Well, I'm going to put in my two penneth here. The Conservatives lost over 1,000 seats in the elections last Thursday. The Labour Party, well, it wasn't all beer and skittles for them either. They lost about 80 or so. There's a big difference in the figures there, but that's not so good because generally speaking, when there's an unpopular government, and let's face it, the Conservatives are pretty unpopular right now. When there's an unpopular government, that generally means that the next down opposition party get all the votes, and they didn't. They sort of held their ground, but they did lose some votes, and that's pretty bad show for the Labour Party as well. But 1,000 votes, well, that's just a spectacular fail. And the worst of it is, who mopped up the votes that Labour didn't get and that the Conservatives most decidedly didn't get? Well, it was the Liberal Democrats. The whole country's gone yellow or gold or whatever they've decided their colour is. And it's pretty ironic considering that one of the major reasons for the parties losing votes is supposed to be their shilly-shallying over not delivering Brexit, while the Liberal Democrats are the only party that are fully committed to keeping the UK in Europe. You might well ask why the British are delivering a message to the major parties that they want to get on with Brexit by electing into local government a lot of people with precisely the opposite intentions. And the only possible answer to that is sheer desperation. They want those two parties to know they can't stand either of them, and the Liberal Democrats seem to be the only one left. And let's face it, they're not all that impressive themselves. It didn't go entirely the Liberal Democrats' way. The people also voted for a lot of local independents as well. Wherever there were independents standing, they seemed to be snapped up. In one notable example, Uttlesford District Council, a Conservative-dominated council, which is sort of in the general area of Cambridge. It's Saffron Walden, which is a little south of Cambridge. The Conservatives lost 17 seats in the council to the members of a local residents association. But that's not what we should be most worried about. What worries me is what happened to UKIP. What happened to UKIP is nothing at all. They lost a whole load of seats and they didn't make even so much as a ripple in the election results. Now, the loss of councillors that they had could come as a result of a couple of problems, and I don't know what the problems were, but I can tell you what one of them could be, and that could be that the UKIP councillors might not have been all that good, the ones that are sitting now, or that were sitting until Thursday, and they didn't perform that well in office. Look, the party's not been around that long, politically speaking, and they've probably been taking candidates from among people who, how do I put this? Well, who wouldn't have had much of a chance in the major parties. And that could have been an issue in some areas, although frankly some of the Labour councillors I've seen have been pretty appalling as well, but at least they have a very well greased party machine backing them up. But the other reason is the more worrying, and I've talked about it before. We're all very woke here on the internet with our videos. We all know what's going on. We all know that the BBC lies like Bernie Madoff about UKIP, about Gerard Batten, about Carl Benjamin, about Count Dankula. We know that. But unfortunately, there are many people voters who don't know that. And they're the people who watch the BBC every night. They just crash out in front of the set after a hard day's work. And although they know that the two major parties deserve a kicking, they went for the established, if very minor party, and they didn't really care about their policies. And they did that instead of the rather unknown quantity of UKIP, with all the smearing that's been done around them from, well, I'm saying the BBC, but the other media as well. And this is a problem UKIP are going to have to address. And I'm afraid they're going to have to start with Gerard Batten. I'm sorry for Gerard Batten. It's obvious he rescued the party after Farage deserted it. And it's equally obvious he's a solid chap. And it's also obvious that he's about as charismatic as your average flounder. And you can see that in the way the BBC use him to provide their entertainment for their own purposes. They used to have Farage on, and they had him on shows like Have I Got News for You? Because they know he's amusing. They're always sure of a witty line from him. It was Farage's flamboyance that gave UKIP its original boost in the ratings. Batten, though, has had a flamboyance bypass, or maybe he was born completely without it in the first place. When he makes speeches, they make sense, they're serious, they're down to earth, they address the issues, and they are cripplingly boring. The BBC know they're not going to get a witty riposte out of Batten. All they're going to get are facts and figures and solid evidence. And I'm sorry, but the BBC isn't into facts and figures, and especially not into solid evidence. So the only thing the BBC can do is invite him into the studio so they can grill him about the misbehaviour of UKIP representatives, which would go ignored in any other party, but which makes the interviewer look hard. Again, I have to keep repeating, UKIP, in my opinion, they're right, they're correct, they're a free speech party, and Batten is a sterling character. But, as the saying goes, that butters no parsnips. Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, and if you wish to donate, click the subscribe star link where you can make a one-off payment or set up a regular contribution, or I have a PayPal account at grannyopteryx@gmail.com. Till next time.